All right, what's up, guys? We're a little bit late with our list this year because we were actually on the road through the 31st, which was not the case last year. We've been working very hard this year. I believe we definitely have got over 250 catches for the year. I mean, we've been working our asses off. And, at the end of this year now, we have two full-time decoys, lots of full-time cameramen, and lots of editors. Our team has grown this year, and we want to thank each and every single one of you for making that possible. We now have arrests in 46 different states, convictions in 40, and 2024 was a great year, and we want to make 2025 even better. But with that being said, we're going to get into our top 10 list for 2024. We're going to start off with number 10. Some of these catches have been released already. Some have not been released, but here we go. So number 10 is going to be Sean from Staten Island, New York, who we ended up catching in New Hope, Pennsylvania. This was one of the few, basically, parent-kid catches on the list that we've done. It's a concept we've kind of introduced this year, and it's netted some really, really bad people, and it's a concept we definitely want to keep going with. And so Sean was messaging multiple of our decoy accounts. He was sexual. He definitely expressed that he was a pedo, but he wouldn't quite bite on those until he started messaging a father that was basically kind of advertising their kid account of ours. And he ended up traveling from Staten Island to New Hope, Pennsylvania. And he was interested in my quote-unquote 11-year-old daughter, and he ends up making some terrible admissions on the hidden camera. And after we start approaching him, and in the process, he sniffed used underwear that he thought was worn by the decoy. And it was worn, but I'm not going to say by who it was or anything like that. I mean, I wouldn't give any hints about that either. So, yeah, that one's currently on locals. But, yeah, definitely, I think, deserves a spot on the top 10 list. Number 9. We got Philip Sharp, and Philip Sharp is one of the most insufferable people I've ever met in my life. Whether they're going after a kid or not going after a kid, just one of the most insufferable people I've met in my life. We caught him twice, one time in 2023 and another time in March of this past year, 2024. And his second catch is out on YouTube. His first catch, he got a little bit too... He got a little bit too graphic, so that one's still on locals. But we caught him in Austin the first time, and there wasn't quite enough evidence on him to get him arrested. But this time around, he messages the same exact decoy account, and we caught him meeting who he thought was a decoy account for sexual purposes. He admits to possessing CP this time, the second time around, and he finally got arrested for possessing child pornography on our second catch of him. And yeah, we'll keep you updated on his court process and court dates and all that stuff. I don't believe he's been convicted yet, but he is finally in trouble for the 2 times that we caught him. Number 8, got Isaac in Indianapolis. This is one that we probably cannot post the whole thing on YouTube for because he had one of the most colossal meltdowns we've ever seen from a pedo and was still wearing a mask in the year 2024. As if it wasn't ridiculous already to wear it at all, but in the year 2024 is a little bit more ridiculous. And, we caught him. He was one of our few catches that we got off the new app Blue Sky. And he was messaging who he thought was an underage boy. And we approached him at his home. And, oh my God, just his meltdown was just something for the ages. And that catch is on locals. Unfortunately, Marion County, Indiana, where Indianapolis is, does not believe in prosecuting criminals. So he is currently a free man at the moment. But... he's might be a little bit famous. Okay, now we got number 7. One of our first catches of 2024. We got Trent Scott in Garland, Maine. He was special to us because we spent months and months looking for him. He was never home. We went by the dairy farm his family owns multiple times. He was just never there. And mind you, this is driving from Houston, Texas to Maine, which is I think the farthest state from us besides Washington State. So very frustrating that we went 2 or 3 times looking for him and never found him at all until he gave his address where he was staying to the decoy account, which was not a listed address for him. And we ended up approaching him at his friend's house. He also had a hilarious meltdown. And Maine initially did not want to touch the case at all, but thanks to people that were following us on Twitter, which our Twitter is I Fight For Kids, all spelled out, IFIGHTFORKIDS. We put a fire under the Maine State Police, and they ended up reaching out to us, and they ended up charging him with possession of child pornography. He's still going through the court process, as far as I know, but thanks to you guys causing a little bit of a ruckus, he did get charged for what we caught him for. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites, and yeah, the fact that we drove 30 hours for him is definitely a big reason why I'm putting him on the list. Number 6, we have Bradley Gonzalez in Fort Gaines, Georgia. He was one we absolutely cannot post here. This is, if you think Dads Against Predators goes hard on these people physically, wait till you see what this guy's mom did to him. Bradley is a sex offender in Fort Gaines, Georgia, and we caught him messaging one of our decoy accounts. And turns out he was also into stuff like torture. Like, he was getting real underage girls to kind of, do some self-destructive things to themselves, if you catch my drift. And we end up getting him. He ends up getting arrested for attempted rape of a minor by, I forgot the county at this point, but it was whatever county Fort Gaines is. And some way, somehow, during the bus, when I was interviewing him, he deleted the CP from his phone, as in, like, he factory reset his phone. But, fortunately, still got him for the chat logs, and him being a sex offender, it's still not looking too good for him. Bradley's catch is on Locals. You can go watch it there. Do not want to miss that one. Number 5, we got Mark Morgan in Dubuque, Iowa. And what was special about him is that was Gunther's debut as the student Gunther, as the little therapy student he plays. And this was a 3-hour catch. It was so long because he was pretty talkative, and Dubuque PD took a while to show up. And, no complaints about it, though. They ended up arresting him for possession of child porn, and he had some weed on him, too. And he was a 71-year-old sex offender that just got out of prison, and within a couple of months, he starts messaging our decoy account, right? He missed our decoy account. Yeah, she's camera shy. He messages her on Facebook, and, we approach him at his home, and he admits to everything plus more. And mind you, this guy was in jail for 23 years for messing with his 9-year-old neighbor. And, being so technologically lagging, he still found a way to get onto these apps and to start trading child pornography. And he is back in jail. So number 4, we have Roy Dubuque. This one is one of my favorites / least favorites. Of course, least favorite because of what he did, but favorites because he's in jail for it now. Roy came to go meet a 12-year-old girl in Frostburg, Maryland. And Maryland is one of those states where our chat logs cannot be used to prosecute people. However, due to admissions he made in the chats and to us in person about his niece, who was 3 years old at the time, he admitted to, I'm just going to leave it up to the imagination. I can't really say it here, but, he did some terrible things to her. And, this one's really special to us because, one, of course, he's back. He's actually in jail for it. He got charged with the child molestation and everything like that. But turns out Roy was investigated 10 years ago for doing this to his 3-year-old niece. And apparently to the cops, he didn't make any admissions. And it's not like we did anything special. It's not like, I used any mind tricks on him to get him to spill to it. I mean, it seemed like he was bragging about it to me and wanted to share his interest with me. And luckily, our footage was used to charge him with all these crimes you see on the screen here. And he's currently sitting in jail. And him being 67 years old with all those charges, especially the age of the girl he did it to, it's going to probably be a life sentence when he gets convicted. And I'm very happy that due to our work, he's back in jail. And I hope his niece gets justice or feels a sense of justice for him being in jail now. And number 3 is Harry from League City, Texas. He's a California transplant, which we absolutely just love in Texas. And he was 21 years old, and the younger ones are always the sickest ones. They're always the ones I think that are more tech savvy and they have access to more things that the Facebook boomers might not necessarily have access to. So Harry, during our phone call with the decoy, said that he's done so many things to kids he was babysitting, did the devil reincarnated. And, he meets our 12-year-old decoy in person. We interview him. And not only does he admit to wanting to do sexual things to the 12-year-old, he admits to molesting an infant that he was babysitting and a 2-year-old that he was babysitting gets into detail from it. This cache is already posted on the PPSETX channel. And yeah, just a total demon. He got arrested that night for going after the 12-year-old. And I'm not sure at the moment if they've added the child pornography charges that he said he had. And if they found who the victims were that he admitted to molesting. But at the moment, he's at least charged with a felony, and we will absolutely keep you updated on his court process as that goes. So number 2 is Eric Groh in Marion, Indiana. Not Marion County, Indiana, Marion, Indiana. And he was, I think, our first daddy-daughter cache we've done this year. In the hotel room, on the hidden camera, he says that he's done things to his 5-year-old daughter. And of course, when we drop the ball at him and tell him that, hey, man, this is what's going on, he reneges on it and just said, oh, I was just saying that, as if anybody would just blurt that out loud if it wasn't true. But yeah, he ended up getting charged with child pornography and to attempted molestation for meeting who he thought was a 9-year-old girl in the hotel room, along with me as the dad. And he's currently going through trial right now. I mean, I think maybe by the time this video drops, we'll have a resolution to it. But yeah, he's truly evil. And yeah, we're hoping he faces a long time in prison. Number 1 is Donald Letcher. And this guy, it's not posted on YouTube. This one is on Locals. All the ones that I didn't make a mention where they were posted are on YouTube. In the pinned comment, actually, we'll have where to find each video. We'll have the pinned comment, link to all the videos, whether they're on Locals, whether they're on YouTube, whatever. But yeah, Donald in Epiphany, South Dakota. This one made national news. There was no arrest and there was no conviction. And the reason for that is, well, I'll let you just look at the headline right here. And, you know, we approached him. It was no different. He was pretty peaceful. There was no tension between us, I would say. It was very, very calm. And he makes admissions to us that he was possessing child pornography on his phone. And the cops come, and while the cops talking to me on the side, Donald slips in the house, and he never comes out of the house. I thought he was going in to delete his stuff off his phone, but I didn't see him get online, so I was like, what's going on here? And then we hear like a little pop inside, and, you know, I didn't see anything, but Pablo ended up seeing, you know, a pretty dastardly sight. And again, that made national news for that reason. And then, you know, the South Dakota State Police come. The head of ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children for South Dakota, shows up. He chews me out saying that, because of you, I cannot prosecute this guy. And I'm like, or because of you, I can't hold him accountable. And I'm like, okay, first of all, like, you know, I didn't make him go in the house. The cop wasn't watching him. And I'd love responsibility for it, but it truly wasn't my fault. And, yeah, and turns out they actually had a chance to hold him accountable. Donald actually got charged in 1996 with molesting a 9-year-old girl, and he got let off on a technicality due to like prosecutorial procedure error or whatever. They just kind of didn't let a witness in to testify on his behalf, and the South Dakota Supreme Court threw his whole case out. So for 28 years, he was completely undetected as a sex offender. Like, he wasn't a sex offender, even though he should have been. And who knows what he was doing in those 28 years before he caught him. But luckily, he is no longer able to hurt children. And I am sure he is in a much warmer climate than South Dakota at the moment for eternity. So that's our top 10. Of course, you can watch that cache on Locals in the pinned comment. And now for honorable mentions. You know, we started off the list with a shit smeller, and now we're going to go with a shit stain. So Donald Griffin in Deer Park, Washington. He's on the top 10. One, he was really sick because he said, you know, he's had all these accusations against him previously. We ended up busting him for CP. And he faced the wrong way on the camera, and he revealed a shit stain in his gray sweatpants. And yeah, and he basically was just describing videos young as babies and toddlers that he's viewed without any type of like bad reaction to it. He was very sick. And yeah, the feds ended up busting him. I mean, due to the evidence we presented, of course. And he ended up getting charged federally. And yeah, he's currently going through the court process, but he's in a lot of trouble. And for our last honorable mention, we have Adam Harris in Guntersville, Alabama. This guy was terrible. He was actually brought to me not by any of our decoys. He was just kind of like a guy online, was just talking to him, and we kind of took it over as a daddy daughter account. He never met up with us, but he said in the chats he was doing terrible things to his daughter. And we show up to his house. He denies even sending any of the messages. He ends up admitting to sending the messages, but says, I never did anything to her. And, of course, the awesome mom of the daughter, bringing in that stepdad, brings the daughter out to us on camera. And, of course, we didn't show this part publicly. Like, we're not doing that. I mean, we love our clicks and views, but, to an extent, we're not going that far, and we got to respect her privacy. But she basically just asks her daughter right in front of me, did he do any of this to you? Like, she starts reading the chat logs to her, and truly just a fucked up family it is. And the daughter's like, of course, scared to admit it happened. She's only 9 years old. And she's like, no, this didn't happen to me. But of course, the cops confiscate Adam Harris's phone anyway, and they find child pornography on it. They end up doing a forensic interview of the daughter, and the daughter comes clean and says, yeah, this has been happening to me. So Adam is still, I believe, in the Marshall County Jail in Alabama, and he is in a shit ton of trouble for what he did with his daughter and the child pornography. So very glad we could play a part in putting that sick fuck away, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot of years when it's all said and done. But anyway, that was our list. And I guess one more honorable mention we'll do is, this was a very recent catch that was not, there's no plans to be on the top 10, but I would say Travis Barnowski, email pedo, hit us up, and we're like, holy shit. And thanks to some massive help on Twitter, we end up identifying who she is, and we end up going to her house, confronting her about the chat logs, and it's like, that's the girl in the video. It's this Jen. It's this. If that's the girl in the picture, it's this Jen lady, and she's like, well, that's not me. My ex, he's a sex offender. He's done this before to me, and we're just shocked. So we end up going to her ex sex offender's house. Turns out, there were accusations that he abused her 2 kids, and he was on the sex offender registry for child pornography already. And we ended up approaching him at his home. He ends up, he's denying everything. He ends up coming clean that he was impersonating her online, and he was using her nudes to trade to get child pornography. He admits that all to us. The cops come. They end up taking his phone. He has not been arrested yet at the time of this video. He wasn't even allowed to have a phone, so he's absolutely screwed. And maybe by the time this video drops, we do have a mugshot for him. But yeah, that one was quite an interesting catch. Took some detective work on our end. And yeah, if you want to see the Jen catch, that is on, of course, Travis, but the Jen catch, that is on Locals as well, which you can go see in the pinned comment. But anyway, that's the list. That's the honorable mentions. It was a great, great list, and 2024 was a great year, and let's make 2025 even better. We appreciate each and every single one of you watching. We encourage y'all to support us on Locals in the pinned comment, and that's where you can see a lot of these videos on the list. And yeah, helps us travel the most, cash the sickest. No one's putting them away like we are. No one's getting the sentences like we are. And we're going to continue that. So yeah, appreciate y'all so much. Let's have a great 2025, no matter what you're doing, whether you are looking for a job, have a job, family, whatever. Just whatever you did last year, just do it better this year. So we appreciate y'all, and let's crush 2025.